I see a live on Facebook up at the top.
We're good.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello.
We're a little late today. There's lots of technology going on, and we hope we can hear each other and see each other. But if you're just catching us, we're starting our Couch Potatoes Unite live panel presentation. This is our one night only reunion special. This panel that you see before you has not been together in this very formation, really ever in this very formation, but they haven't been around our water cooler for 4 whole years.
Really?
Wow.
It's been 4 years.
Doesn't seem like it.
I dislike that information.
Well, it is what it is. And before we talk to our live-ish and wonderful reunited panel to talk about Downton Abbey, I'm going to do the little thing I do, which says, hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of the podcast entitled Couch Potatoes Unite, ! Which is based on a blog of the same name, because it's like a never-ending reunion of our own. My name is Kylie, and I love TV. If you feel the same, keep listening, and we're checking out our website, couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com. And some common ground or something you like. For Couch Potatoes Unite, we're all about the wonders and unique long-form storytelling of the small screen. Our podcast episodes are published every Wednesday. Sometimes blog posts are published Tuesdays. We just published one a week ago Tuesday with our fall preview. Subscribe to us via Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play, Spotify. We're on iHeartRadio now and CastBox, as well as YouTube. And of course, you can find us directly at our website. Each podcast episode features a panel of 3 to 7 participants, including a moderator, which, let's face it, usually me. And we're around the water cooler talking about our favorite TV shows and sometimes movies, just like tonight. It's not about extensive recapping and hyper-analysis. It's about our reactions as fans of a hardcore to casual type, or perhaps not so fans if the occasion is such, of any show that catches our fancy would be. And we watch a lot of TV. Episodes already published discuss a variety of shows from drama to comedy, from straightforward to science fiction and fantasy, from superhero to arch villain, though none of those genres will be covered here tonight. Today, we're coming to you live streamed from Grand Rapids, Michigan. This is one of our CPU live podcasts, sort of. Normally, we love an interactive audience, but of course, you may have heard of this global pandemic business and the need to reasonably quarantine and socially distant and wear your mask, people. But fortunately, we have Facebook, which can help us with some live interaction. Don't be shy, listeners and watchers. We'd love it if you commented and reacted. In fact, we'll be doing a live hosted trivia game hosted by one of our panelists, which you probably see right below after we talk about the movie. This is our 4th attempt at one of our live streams. We're still eking out the technological difficulties, as you can see tonight. So if it's not great, let us know. We're constantly exploring things and, technology. It's a wonderful thing until it isn't, right? But we're trying things. If you didn't already know, CPU is a podcast by the people, for the people. We're always adding new and old shows to chat about around the water cooler, and we love it when people say hi. They have. We hope you will. We create new panels all the time filled with people just like you at home, and it's easy to talk about TV. So if you ever want to be a part of a friendly podcast and talk about shows about which you're passionate, or even to suggest shows we ought to cover, get in contact with us. Drop us a line, let us know how you're doing and how we're doing. We will take the feedback, most of the feedback. Today, our Downton Abbey panel is back around the virtual water cooler after 4 years dormancy to discuss another big-time reunion, that of the Downton Abbey cast for the feature film that was released on September 20th, 2019 to nationwide distribution in the United States. Of course, if you're finding us from across the pond, you got it earlier for reasons that should be fairly obvious. Written by Julian Fellowes, creator and writer of the television series of the same name, and directed by Michael Engler, the film continues the storyline from the series with much of the original cast returning. The film is set in 1927, and it depicts a visit by the king and queen to the Crawley family's English country house in the Yorkshire countryside. As the royal staff descend on Downton, an assassin has also arrived and attempts to kill the monarch. The family and servants are pitted against the royal entourage, including the queen's lady-in-waiting, who's fallen out with the Crawleys, especially the Dowager Countess, over an inheritance issue. Today, for this one-night-only reunion special of our own, our original Downton Abbey panel, namely Krista L, wave as I say her name, Krista, Stacy, Spencer, and Kristen T, returns to review this big screen leap of a CPU small screen favorite. Before we get started, I'm going to take a moment to take the panel's temperature. After all, sometimes the adaptation of a television property to feature film can take a turn for the better or the worse in our heads, or can continue the original series' level of awesomeness or lack thereof, depending upon the related story evolution. As always, it should be noted that all of our panelists have watched the Downton Abbey film, as well as all episodes of the original Downton Abbey series, and may discuss sensitive plot points. So for those of you who have not watched any of the available Downton Abbey goodness and plan to do so at some point, listen at your own risk, as there may be major spoilers. Like I said, welcome back, panel. How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Doing well, thanks.
Are you happy to be reunited? And it
Feels so good.
It's very good fun to be with all of you, even virtually.
Yes, definitely.
Wonderful. Well, we're going to do this a little bit the same and a little bit differently because we're talking about a movie. And of course, your last episode together was 4 years ago, which is really, really fun. So what I'd like to have you do is introduce yourself by your first name, of course, and your title as applicable, because apparently there's a lot of titles going on. I'm the only one who doesn't have one, but I do have a hat. So there's that. Tell us who you are, your first name, just your first name. Remind us how and why you started watching Downton Abbey, what made you start, what kept you watching. Then tell us, how'd you feel when you learned the film was coming out and how eager were you to watch it? Tell us about some panels you've been on since Downton or what panels you'd like to be on. Just name one if you could. And then I'd like you to rate your interest in the movie along the standard CBU character question, which changes with each show we do. I've taken our last known Downton Abbey character question and I have tweaked it so that it's movie accessible. And you're going to pick which character reflects your interest in the movie. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Yes.
All right. Great. So how would you rate your interest in the Downton Abbey film upon whichever review you'd like to contextualize that in? Did you care for each of the characters as you would your own children, like Cora Crawley, the Countess of Grantham? Did you dutifully watch it, as any member of the aristocracy would be expected to do, though even you must concede that things change and should come to an end, like Robert Crawley, Earl of Grantham? Did you watch it with the aloofness of an intelligent lady, appreciating its finer points and the enjoyment they bring you, such as the beautiful costumes, sets, and so on, yet you're silently critical of its flaws, especially since you hoped it would better stay afloat with the passing years and the onset of modernity, like Lady Mary Talbot? Did you watch it because you're resolved to like it, no matter your station in life or what chance you might really have at a happy ending, like Edith Pelham, Marchioness of Hexham? Is that how you say that word, Marchioness?
Marchioness.
Marchioness of Hexham. Did you watch it with stalwart passion and principles, unafraid of the reputation it might bring you, like cousin Isabel Crawley? Did you watch it because it's like home to you, even if this latest chapter left you questioning that sense of comfort and familiarity more than you would have preferred, like Tom Branson? Did you watch it to check in on the romances? You find the whole upstairs-downstairs dynamic rather engaging, like Lord Merton, Andy Parker, and Henry Talbot. Did you watch it with great anticipation and ultimate satisfaction? After all, you love a joyous reunion and a royal visit, like Mrs. Beryl Patmore, Joseph Molesley, and Phyllis Baxter. Did you watch it because you found the whole affair a delightful, if unduly dramatic distraction, like His Majesty King George V, Queen Mary, or Princess Mary, the Viscount Lascelles? Did you watch it because that's what the lord or the lady of the house expects, and doing so brings you some happiness, or maybe quite a lot of happiness, even though you have your own home life to look after, like Charles Carson or Mrs. Elsie Hughes Carson? Did you watch it because you cheered for the house staff, who in your mind can run circles around their royal equivalents, like Mr. John Bates and Mrs. Anna Bates? You didn't watch the series, but you watched the film and were either put off by its slavish devotion to class politics, like Maud, the Lady Bagshaw, or were swept up in the glamour, the romance, and the unexpected taboos of the class-related conversation that has underpinned the entire narrative, like Lucy Smith. Did you watch it but felt that you, in some ways, have evolved beyond this cast in the original show? The memory of the show is better to you than this film, and probably than the series itself, like Daisy Mason or Thomas Barrow. Did you watch it but don't like it much, except for a favorite character or two, and wanted to share your feelings with unparalleled one-line zingers like the Dowager Countess Violet Crawley? Or did you watch it, but you couldn't help but turn your nose up at it? You'd much rather spend a day at Buckingham Palace, like royal attendants Mr. Wilson and Mrs. Webb. Who would like to begin? Don't all jump up at once.
That was a lot.
Pregnant pause.
I can start.
Thanks, Krista.
Start.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm Krista.
Hi, Duchess Krista.
Yes, that's me. I am sometimes also known as an associate couch potato, an occasional moderator as well. I started watching the Downton Abbey. I think it was around season 3. And I loved it. I loved it. Going back and watching it, all I can think is how hard I was on it when we talked about it initially, because it truly does feel like home now. And I'm gonna probably start watching it again. During quarantine, I think I've seen it like at least twice. I am also on a number of the other more British Anglophile panels, including I am the moderator for The Crown, and I will be on the upcoming Call the Midwife panel. I believe you said last time I was Robert and Mary, which sounds about right.
Robert and Tom. Yeah, everybody.
And I'm also still Tom, and I suspect we will all still continue to be Tom. But I'm also a little bit of Edith on this one, because I'm like, I thought the ending was really good of the series, and as soon as they announced the movie, I knew I was going to see it, regardless of anything else. Plus, this panel. And whatever, more of the same story. I hope it had a happy ending for everybody. But yes, there was a certain sense of resolve, but I love it. And I love all of the pretty costumes and everything. So.
All right. Welcome back, Krista.
Thank you, Kylie.
You're welcome. Who would like to go next? We're live, people.
I can go.
Okay.
Hello, I am Marchioness Kristen T.
Hello, Marchioness Kristen T.
Hello. And I am a panelist on some of the other historical and English shows, including Sherlock and The Crown, and most recently, and not English, This Is Us. I started watching Downton Abbey several years ago on a spring break where my trip got canceled. I was supposed to visit a friend out of state, and there was illness or something, so I could not go. I, at that point, had nothing else to do, so I watched, I believe, the first 2 or 3 seasons and fell in love with it. As a kid, I used to absolutely love watching shows like Anne of Green Gables and Road to Avonlea, and to me, this had that same feel. The strong characters, the stories, the drama, the history, and so it immediately drew me in and kept me interested. And once I was caught up, I watched all of the other seasons as they were released in the US. So I never had to catch up again. As soon as I heard the movie was coming out, I was thrilled. I knew I would see it. I remember being in the movie theater for another film, and the preview came on for Downton Abbey, and the entire movie theater clapped after the preview. So that was kind of a fun experience to be a part of. So I looked forward to it a lot. My interest in the movie, however, last time I was Mary and Tom, and I would say I still feel like after seeing the film, I would be Mary. I still enjoyed the beauty of the costumes and the sets and certain character quips, but I did have a lot more criticisms, which we might get into a little bit later. So I find myself watching the movie a little bit more as a Robert than a Tom. I felt I'm one that never wants a good thing to come to an end, but seeing the film allowed me to realize that, well, maybe it was time for this one to move on.
All right. Welcome back, Kristen T.
Thank you.
Got all the questions. Good job.
I think I did.
I think you did. Who's next?
I can go next.
That's good because you have a dynamic.
I have a disclaimer, which is seldom used by this dynamic, at least. I am Lord Spencer, and my good
Hello,
lady
Lord
wife-
Spencer.
Well, hello. My good lady wife is the Marchioness Kristen. I came to watch Downton Abbey because I was talking to my mom one Sunday afternoon and said, are there any good British shows that I might be able to find over here? And she suggested Downton Abbey, and I watched the first couple of episodes, fell in love with it pretty quickly, really enjoyed the show, and watched it live. I actually even got to do voiceover for the local PBS station for a commercial and a giveaway they were doing for Downton Abbey. So my interest has been there since the beginning. So when the movie was announced, there was an element of excitement, but with the time that had passed and the way in which they told the story, I had some concerns, and we will be going over those later. I would say as far as the characters to associate with, still Tom, probably a little bit of Robert, and sadly some of the royal staff.
All right. Welcome back, Spencer.
Thank you.
I'll go next.
Okay. That was my speaker.
All right. Good
Hello,
timing.
speaker.
Hi, I'm Lady Kristen in honor of my favorite character, Lady Mary.
Hello, Kristen, in honor of your favorite character.
Hello. So what panels have I appeared on? I've been a moderator on a few. I've appeared on, I think, 50% of Couch Potato panels. So if you listen to the show often, you have definitely heard me. I tend to frequent like the DC and the Marvel shows. I'd listen to everything. Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Sherlock, Doctor Who. I run kind of the gamut across TV. I love it all. I believe I started watching Downton when the first 2 or 3 seasons were available on Netflix. I don't remember if I was homesick or if I just had nothing to do, but I just started watching it out of curiosity. I'd heard about it over the years, very high praise. I'm like, you know what? I need to give this a shot. It seems like it'd be right up my alley. And I binged it. I loved it. I did find it a little confusing at first because they don't include dates when the show would time jump in the original series. So when I first started it, I did have to have the trusty Wikipedia episode guide open so I knew how much time had passed between each episode. But once I got the hang of it, fell in love with it, haven't stopped watching, and I was able to watch the last few seasons in real time, which was great. When I learned that there was finally going to be a film, I got really excited. I thought they ended the show beautifully, but I was really excited to give a little check-in and see where everybody was. But really, my favorite part was that most of, if not all of our panel were able to go together. And I love that we took a little field trip to see it last year. That was a lot of fun. And let's see here. I think that's everything, all the basic questions. Okay, so interest in the movie. At the end of series 6, I was Mary and Tom. I'm still Mary and Tom for the same reasons that previous panelists have said. It was very beautiful. I loved all the finery. I loved seeing the sets again and the new costumes, and just how it was shot was extremely beautiful. But it also, like Tom, it felt like it was coming home when you heard that beautiful score, and then a few seconds into the movie, you see that sweeping shot of the Abbey. Oh, I felt so much joy in my heart that we got to see that shot again. And there were moments of, oh, I've waited for this. But going back to Mary, I will be a little critical of its flaws. And as much as I would love to choose like 3 or 4 more characters, because I love the romances and I love the new characters, and it wasn't super dramatic, which we didn't expect it to be. I'm going to stick to just Mary and Tom for this last one and keep true to my 2 faves.
Fair enough. Welcome back, Lady Krista now.
Thank you.
I think that leaves just Dame Stacy. It could be Dame Stacy.
Dame Stacy.
And stuff. So I actually, this is the only panel that I am on at this point in time. The one that I would be happy to be on in the future would be Victoria. If they wanted to do on the Victoria, because I did love that. I love that series as well. So same way, I kind of jumped into the whole Downton Abbey, I believe, when it was in season 3. I had gotten, I think, some DVDs from the library when I was out in Grand Haven at a cottage and was watching it. And honestly, I watched the first episode with my mom, and I turned to her and I go, I'm not getting it. I'm not getting what the appeal is of all of this. And I said, okay, I'm going to try another episode. And so I did. And then it started reeling me in a little bit. And then I was hooked. And same way, I got to watch it all during real time and just loved it. Every Sunday, said to my son and husband, 9 o'clock, man, you're not allowed to talk to me till 10. Do not interrupt me. No questions until 10 o'clock. And then I'd come out of my room at that point in time and be good. When the movie came out, was very excited. At the same time, thought, man, I'm not sure what they're going to quite be able to do with it. Did like the movie, enjoyed it, but thought at the time, not really sure that I'd want for another one. So ironically, I had a really bad day at work yesterday, and I had bought Downton Abbey, the movie, from Redbox. And so I have a copy now, which I'm excited about. And I watched it last night, and I smiled the whole time. And it was such a treat. And I realized how much I had missed it. And by the end of the movie, I'm if they want to do another one, I'd be absolutely there to watch it. And I am definitely Isabel, and probably always will be Isabel and Tom.
All right. Welcome back, Dame Stacy. And of course, my name is Kylie. I both moderate and participate on this panel. That also frequently is the case, and have been doing that since the inception of this panel. I've appeared on 99% of the panels, so we're just going to get that out of the way. There's ones that I say, no, I'm not going to do that, but they're rare. And I started watching Downton Abbey. I'm pretty sure we can double check our first episode to check the facts on this, but I'm pretty sure I had a friend who he had started to watch the show, and he knew how much of an Anglophile I was, and he basically said, "Are you watching this?" And I said, no. And he said, "You should be. Here, you should watch it." And so I don't know how I watched it or how I accessed it, but I pretty much remember that it was in the 2nd or 3rd season as well. That seems to be when everybody kind of found it, at least over here. And I started watching it, and I kept watching because it's lush, it's beautiful, it's well performed, the story is very engaging. Dame Maggie Smith is a delightful treat, and my perennial favorite character, Violet Crawley. Always happy to talk about her, but just loved the entire examination of class and romance and history and the contextualizing of some of the things that we see. It's very fun and very comforting. Exactly right. In fact, a little tidbit, I had some medical things that I had to take care of this past year and was in the hospital. And one of the free movies on the hospital channel lineup was Downton Abbey. I had to go into the hospital twice, and I watched it a couple of times each visit. So that shows you how comforting it was. Because also when we were watching it in the theater, that medical business was also distracting to me. So I don't think I appreciated it as much when we saw it. Because our panel did, at least within 24 hours, we all were either together or very close to watching it together. So wasn't sure about the movie when I was done watching it the first time, but on the repeat watches, I've been like, I like it a little bit more and a little bit more because it's just so much fun to see the characters and hear that theme. I love the
So beautiful.
theme. It's beautiful. There's a whole suite. Find the soundtrack. 2 thumbs up. I last time was Cora and Tom because I love the characters and I find that Downton Abbey is largely comforting. I'm going to still be Cora and Tom. I'm going to add Robert though. I don't think it should necessarily come to an end, but just for the sense that I had to adjust on repeat viewings, it is several years after the finale bow that this movie was released, and I don't want to say the shine had worn off, but finding the groove of where the characters was again was a little bit weird, and where they ended the film was a little bit weird, and we're going to talk about that. So yeah, I think I answered everything. Did I answer? Oh, how did I feel when the film was coming out? Awesome. I wanted to see it. Okay. Now let's talk about Downton Abbey the movie. So, those of you who are joining us today, we're gonna do one of our regular water cooler episodes where we're talking about the movie, how we see it versus the original series. You may have some of the same feelings, you may have disagreeing feelings. That's fine. Go ahead and comment on the live video feed here on our Facebook page. We will respond and interact with you just as well. Normally when we do our live events, we have an audience because we're all a bunch of performance people who like to do this sort of thing. So we're always happy to talk.
We're also called narcissists.
No, oh no, oh no, settle down. It's not always that.
I'm teasing.
We just enjoy connecting with an audience, Krista. Jeez,
Theater
enjoy
geeks,
connecting with an audience. And speaking of connecting with an audience, once we're done talking about the movie, because really it's just a 2-hour movie. Normally we talk about whole seasons. The person who just spoke about being a narcissist is going to host trivia for you all. And if you join the trivia contest today and are the winner, she's going to explain the rules when we get there. We have a lovely prize for you. And it's going to be a surprise Downton Abbey related prize. I'm either thinking a film companion book or an ornament, both of which are available. You can tell us which one you like. The Downton Abbey ornament is Highclere Castle, the actual Abbey building itself, and it says Downton Abbey. The film companion book talks about how the film came to be as it relates to the genesis of the series. Both highly recommend. Okay, so panel, tell us how you felt. More, expound on your initial answers about the Downton Abbey film.
I have a tidbit first. The theme song is my ringtone. And so I love when people that aren't in my contacts, like my mom has her own and my son and my husband do. But when somebody I don't have in my contacts come in, it's very exciting. I get to hear the theme song. I listen for a minute, like 30 seconds or so. So I hope they don't go into my voicemail. So just so I can hear it again.
Make a note to call Stacy later.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
And leave a voicemail because she's going to let you go so she can hear the whole song.
Yes. I probably should call from my landline to my cell phone and then listen to it. And then I can be as long as I want.
So going into the film, I had zero expectations other than we were going to go back into this world. And like Kristen was saying, that opening shot with that sweeping view of the castle, and then we just start seeing all of our friends. So it was a really, really strong, that first 10 minutes with the credits and everything where we got to see everybody and it kind of established where they were. I really liked that. and nobody was missing. So that was nice also.
I'm with you, Krista, because when I watched it last night, I was taking some notes so I remember what to talk about today. And my first note said, got chills when saw a house with the music.
Yeah.
It just felt so, it was like, oh, I'm home. Yay, this is so exciting.
Yeah, I'll
I
agree with
didn't-
that.
yeah.
That was a high
feeling
point.
in the theater. Sorry.
So this is Zoom. You can't all talk all over each other. Tomlins, did you want to repeat one at a time?
Ladies first.
Okay.
I just said I agree completely about that opening theme. When we were sitting in the theater, it made my heart beat a little bit faster to hear it again. And to hear it in such good, amazing stereo sound was just...
Yeah, I agree.
That was the beauty
It
of
was,
all yours, Spencer.
I was going to say, I agree. It was one of those moments that brings a smile to your face. That you know how there's comfort foods. That was a comfort sound and a comfort visual that brought me back to good times, things that you enjoy, and it just gave me a warm, happy feeling. And that was a good way to start the movie.
I also like that the beginning of the film repeated the beginning of the first episode with the telegram.
I was just going to say that. It was a nice parallel where in, the pilot of season 1, we see the bicycle going up, delivering the news that the Titanic had sank, and how that totally changes the trajectory of this family's lives. And then the film, you get the motorbike going up with the message that the king and queen are going to be arriving. And it doesn't change the trajectory of their lives, it definitely starts something new.
The ability to have the drone, I think drone footage now really made a difference too, because being able to come up over, I don't want to say the hill, and then be kind of on top of the Abbey and then see it that way. I think drone footage is really adding a nice texture to films anymore.
Very true.
I have to echo that I really enjoyed the opening. For all the same reactions. I had all the same reactions. Chills ran up my spine. You hear those first strings going, cutting into the theme song. It's a very unusual theme song and piece of music because it just starts with this really fast eighth note, few bars of strings, and then you get the sweeping piano. That adding that piano underscore to this track shot over the castle was actually very well directed, and it made me very excited for what I was about to see. So the opening was strong.
One thing that I found interesting was Tom never seemed to stop having problems to solve.
Isn't that par for the course?
But almost in a comical way. And when he saved the king's life and the whole thing. So someone was trying to kill the king. That happened. And there was a parade.
So for me, the Tom story was the highlight of this movie. His redemption was probably the best part of the storytelling and a good way to cap off his character, giving him that redemption after him being pretty much the villain through the TV series, making him the hero of the movie. I found to be very, very endearing.
Yeah, I yeah.
Oh, he was a villain. Yeah.
Yeah. I love Tom. He's one of my favorites, but I really feel like I could have done without the attempted assassination of the king with Tom. I felt like that time that was spent with Tom and then this new character who was either supposedly from the army or from the army, I'm not sure. I felt like we could have had more time with like Henry instead, because we only got Henry for that teeny tiny bit at the end. I know we can't spend a lot of time with all of our favorite characters and they can't bring everybody back because this is essentially almost like just a 2-episode arc almost for the show on a normal season. But I just felt that time could have been spent somewhere else.
Interestingly, I liked the fact that they did that piece with him, because it kind of brought back that Irish Republican and brought his past back. Because I mean, we all sometimes have something from our past that comes back into our lives, and then how you react to it, I think, is what makes it interesting. And so he has chosen the family, and Sibby, his daughter, that this is where he wants it to be. And I think that tied in really nice with the Princess Mary stuff. And I love the fact that he had no idea who she was. And one of my favorite lines is he said, I should know you, but I'm never good at that stuff. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's me. That was totally
yeah. I loved that moment between him and Princess Mary. It was so honest, and it was just very surprising. And I loved his reaction later on at the ball, which you knew was coming. He was going to realize who she was later on, but that was beautiful. I loved it.
Yeah.
I completely conflated two characters. I was talking about Thomas, not Tom.
That makes sense.
That
makes sense.
The villain. That's
Barrow.
right.
Yes, Thomas Barrow definitely
Barrow was the villain. Yes.
Yeah,
changing
but
the whole trajectory here.
But his redemption in the movie was, for me, the best part of this movie.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, Thomas Barrow's whole character arc was amazing from season 1 through the end of the movie. I loved how he transformed into the person that he was where we left off.
Yeah, it gave me a good feeling that he got redemption, because he was always that character that you loved to despise. But by the end, there was a point in time where you started to just feel really sorry for him. But by the end, you're like, that a boy, well done, you did it.
I was glad that he found some happiness at the end and recognizing that he could be who he was, even though it isn't as public as they would like it to be, but he has somebody he can connect with. I did like that piece a lot.
Yeah, his story ended with hope. And I always love that when you end with hope.
Yeah. And actually, that's what I'm like, the second movie, I'm like, oh, okay, I'd like to see what happens with him. Where does it go? Lucy and Tom Branson, too. I'd really love to see that piece.
Important to note that Lucy was played by Tuppence Middleton. She's been in quite a lot, but probably most famously in Sense8.
I was marginally cranky that it wasn't Edith's editor woman with Tom, because they had a little flirtation at the very, very, very end of the series. And that would have been fun, but
we don't know what went on in the 18 months, because as I researched this, 18 months transition between the end of the ending events of the series finale and this movie. So maybe he explored that flirtation with editor lady and it didn't work out, and he was feeling kind of, listless until Lucy came along.
Yeah. And Lucy's aunt was played by Mr. Carson's real wife.
And also Dolores Umbridge, which is a very interesting thing.
I never realized that.
She's about to become the queen.
Yes,
she is.
Exactly. But that's for the Crown podcast, which, as Krista mentioned, we already do. So let me talk my favorite part of the movie. While I wasn't super connected to the Lady Bagshaw storyline, at least not until the spoiler revelation that Lucy is actually her biological daughter, we can talk about. What I found very interesting was that they really like to put Imelda Staunton and Maggie Smith in the same scene, and all I could think of was Professor McGonagall and Dolores going at it again.
I didn't even make that connection. You're absolutely right. Two different worlds.
There's only so many British actors, okay?
Yeah. They're both just so brilliant. I love them in scenes together. So I loved them in Harry Potter when they would spar, and I love them in this together. Just their chemistry is awesome. And knowing that they've been friends for so long, I think Imelda, she would come to the set when they were filming the series too. So she knew the cast, she'd been around. So it was wonderful finally finding a way to get her in there in a meaningful way.
It was like a way to even raise the stakes on the Isabel Violet banter in continuing on into a third character, and I love that bit too. Can somebody clarify who is married to who in real life?
Mr. Carson, Imelda Stanton is married to Staunton is married to Jim Baker.
I don't have the who I'd like to IMDb Mr. Carson's real
I've got
name.
it. I'm
Thanks,
on it.
sir.
Mr. Carson is Jim Carter.
Jim Carter.
Yeah.
Should have known that. He is actually in quite a few things too. Although his profile was significantly raised by Downton Abbey
Yes.
internationally. Cameo guest appearance by junior podcaster Gracie.
Princess Gracie for this.
Yes.
For this, yes.
She's very excited by our talk of Downton Abbey. She also enjoys the theme song.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole Isabel Violet, one of the notes I wrote last night was such fun. I mean, their banter is
I love it.
I mean, the first couple times they were bantering in the movie again, it was like, oh yes, I love those two. They're just so hilarious together.
They just have such a great relationship.
Yeah.
Love it.
And a true
Yeah, I
love
would
for
say
each
that
other.
was one of my favorite parts of the TV show was their relationship, their banter. I mean, particularly Maggie Smith's character, just that acerbic, quick, pointed whip of humor that she added to the show. She always made me laugh. I thought her character was absolutely phenomenal, and their relationship really was one of the high points of the TV show. And it did the same thing in the movie.
Agreed. And the fierce loyalty that they clearly felt to one another despite the jabs that went back and forth just balanced things out so nicely. It was such a fun relationship, like Stacey said.
Yes, and I particularly also enjoyed the passage of time brought about some downsizing at the Abbey, which had been discussed at the end of season 6 of, the future, and of, they were using the smaller dining room for like normal days. And the below stairs folks, there were a lot less of them. Until, of course, the mean folks from Buckingham Palace showed up. Who proceeded to get
those people.
lots of places.
With lofty titles like The Page of the Back Stairs.
Right.
Is there really a page of the back stairs?
Probably.
I would imagine so. Julian Fellows is rather particular.
Yeah. I mean, I don't doubt it. Buckingham Palace is very big. And
I
Kings
think
and
my
queens
other
live
Probably a
there.
fair number of backstairs.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And front stairs. There might be pages of front stairs and main stairs and stairs to the basement. We don't know.
What about pages of the balcony? Could there be
Or
a
that
page of the
too.
balcony? Yeah.
There's probably a
I remember that.
footman for the
I
balcony.
believe the pages of the library are the most important.
Da-da-da-da.
I think one of my other favorite things that I wrote down was I love knowing how popular it has become in America as well, the little tie-ins. One of my absolute favorite lines is when Lord and Lady Grantham were talking at night about how excited they were to have the royal family there. And she said, "Are you excited?" And he said, "Would it be common if I said I was?" And she giggled and said, "Not to an American." And I love some of the ties, the whole American ties, reminding us that, she was. And I found that part to be kind of cute.
I still enjoy Hugh Bonneville and Elizabeth McGovern's chemistry in the novels. I think in the ways that Downton Abbey feels like home, it's largely because of their matriarch, patriarch element and how they're also funny in their own way, not acerbic like Violet and not, I don't know, I guess quippy like some of the servants downstairs, but they're very genuine and sincere, and I love that. I've always loved the relationship between her calm but purely American manner and his stiff upper lip, very English manner. I think it's one of the more delightful elements of the show. And
they felt
one
like a
can
married
dream
couple.
to marry an earl.
And they
Did
felt
it?
like
Oh, go ahead, Spencer. Lord
they
Spencer.
felt like a married couple watching them. That some of the looks that they gave each other, some of the discussions that they had, they felt genuine, they felt real, they didn't feel forced. And that's actually something that for most of the TV show and the movie, it never really felt forced. A couple of notable exceptions, but
We've talked a lot about what we liked. What if anything did you not like about the movie?
I didn't
Okay,
like they pushed Thomas out as butler because of some silver polishing, and I was like, okay, I know we have to bring Mr. Carson back, but like, this seems mean.
I
But
felt the same way. And Mary, it was like, Mary, really? Yeah.
but
it was-
Mary's
and
always doing this, Mary.
I
She
know.
has
I
such an
know.
affection for Mr. Carson. And it was the king and queen, so of course she was panicking. I mean, I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying that in the idiom of these characters, it didn't feel forced to me. Oh, yes, go get Mr. Carson because the king and queen are coming, and Mr. Barrow, he's got an inconsistent track record. We should trust him, or at least Mary.
Well, and at least Lord Grantham, Thomas was raised in his eyes by how he responded. And I thought,
Yes.
good. Okay, that's good. I'm glad that Thomas did. And the fact that he was willing to help with the charade later on, I thought, good for you, Thomas. You know, you stepped up
fun to
even when
see
you were
that
pushed
side.
out. Right.
It's fun
Yeah.
to see that side of Thomas, that playfulness we don't see any other time in the series.
Yeah.
He's so broody all the time.
Well, we did see it that time up at when they were up at Donegal.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. But yeah,
And not
Little
Donegal,
things.
not Donegal, but anyway, Scotland.
All our Scottish listeners just went, oh.
Well, no, because Donegal's the
Yeah,
queen's
they did it with an accent.
castle.
Ah. That's all I
So
got.
I've
I've been watching Outlander. Sorry. I've been watching Outlander. So now I'm like getting it. You can? Okay, go ahead.
So I said the wrong name of the castle, and I can't remember the one that the McClares had. So anyway, for the grouse. Because remember he did all that stuff with the salt in the food, and anyway.
Yes, now I remember.
He can be
It was
fun.
nice to see more of it.
So
Let's just be fair. Carson did go back into retirement just as soon as the Royals left. I mean, it was just the one occasion. Barrow still has his job.
plus he got to go have fun with the boys, which was fun too.
He did have fun with the boys. And that's
Okay,
nice.
so we'll give Mary some grace, knowing that Thomas got to have some fun and find someone that, you know, there's
A nice
there's a possibility.
gentleman who was willing to use his clout to save him from the police raid on the gay nightclub.
Yep. Yep. And to denounce who he
Also,
was to get him out.
And it was very cute.
Yeah, it was. I did like that part too.
I'm trying.
Overall, I didn't enjoy this as much as the rest of you. I felt like the tea had gotten a little weak and the cucumber sandwiches were stale. It was
When his
Going-
metaphors, yo.
gotta have at least
Go
one.
ahead.
You know, the TV show was so good. The way it ended was fine. I didn't feel that this was really needed. I felt that in a lot of ways it was just a money grab because of how successful the show was globally, that they decided to do this movie. Parts of it I liked. The Thomas Barrow getting his redemption was the redeeming quality of the movie for me. Overall, yes, I would watch another one if it came out, purely because I love the property, I love the costumes, the history, all of that. But this to me felt superfluous.
I would agree that it was weaker than the series. I feel like superfluous is strong. I'd like to compare it, since we're on food, I'd like to compare, this isn't at all related to tea and cucumber sandwiches. I'd like to say that this is like Downton Abbey, the franchise, is like an ice cream sundae, or maybe a banana split, where the series itself is the bananas and the ice cream and the syrup, but the movie is the whipped cream. It's light, it's fluffy, it doesn't raise any stakes, it doesn't advance anything forward. It is purely a high gloss reunion special, really, but it's still enjoyable. Whipped cream can be very delightful when you take a spoonful of it. Is it going to leave you full up with sugary sweet? No, but at least you've enjoyed the spoonful you've had. Um, I would watch another movie too. Like I said, I felt it was a little bit, well, okay, that was Downton Abbey the movie, and that was nice when I watched it the first time. But repeat watching kind of makes it feel like the good whipped cream, like the luxury whipped cream, because it's still very comforting and you just want to squirt some in your mouth.
I felt
Okay,
that.
nobody was along for that. I'm sorry. I'll Anglicanize it the next time. I'll try.
No, I understand what you're saying, but I feel like it was more dairy-free whipped cream, which is it's there, but it's just not as good.
It was a warm
Agree.
coat with a $5 bill in the pocket that you forgot was there.
Oh, that's very nice. And not food related at all. So found money is a good story. There you go.
It's that coat that's in the back of your closet. You've loved it, but it's been a while since you've worn it. You pull it out and you're like, oh yeah, I love that coat. You put it on and go, oh, it's great. And you stick your hand in the pocket. It was like, oh, money. There's money in here.
Yeah,
That's
but
what
it kind of smells like mothballs.
No.
Wow.
Because you have it in a cedar
All right.
closet.
Grumpy.
Okay.
Very grumpy, Lord Spencer.
So I sort of agree with Spencer in that it just overall wasn't as good. There were a lot of subplots that I felt were, to use his words, superfluous. You know, like we just never got to have enough time to get invested in any of them. You know, the princess part, like we saw her like 3 times, and then all this stuff with, you know, the aunt and the will, and there was just a lot going on for 2 hours. And I felt like below stairs there was some kind of just very, like really quick stuff, like, you know, Daisy and the repairman. And it didn't seem like she actually wanted to get married, and I felt kind of bad for her. So that said, you know, I can't have dairy. So even as a dairy-free whipped cream, that's fine.
Oh, what a concession. This kind of goes to the adaptation piece of it though, right? I mean, that's why Couch Potatoes Unite talks about TV, because you do have time to stretch out the story and get invested in the characters. And Downton Abbey, there's a handful of TV shows that meet the number of cast that Downton Abbey has. Downton Abbey has a very large main cast when you incorporate and add together everybody upstairs and everybody downstairs. And I think the movie itself is pure fan service. It is pure fan service. It's not meant to be more in depth. And I think that's kind of if I were to talk to somebody about watching the Downton Abbey movie. So they tell me, let's just say they say, you know, I was a really big fan of the TV show. I go, how about the movie? Should I watch it? What I would say is yes, but don't expect it to be like an earth-shattering revelation that continues from the TV show. The movie really is just a check-in. It's a visit. It's a, hey Crawleys, hey everybody downstairs, how have your lives been? Oh, and by the way, the king and queen are coming to the castle, and let's see, there's this cousin with this will and her secret biological daughter, which could have been developed nicely somewhere else, but maybe Imelda didn't have the time, or maybe it'll be a sequel movie. We don't know. It's meant to be superficial the way this one was translated, and I think once you kind of keep that in mind, if you don't oversell your expectation, it's fine. It is what it is.
And I want the second movie now to deal with.
Stacey's like, better be a second movie.
Yeah, the second movie, I really would love to see it deal with America in the crash of 29 and the depression, and how that impacts Cora, and does it impact her money, and does it do anything with, I don't know if all of her money they got at the beginning, and just does it have Mary and Tom look at, hey, that's what's happening over the United States, we really do need to look at what we're doing here. So oh yeah, I'm totally, after watching it last night, I was like, okay, when's the next one? I'm ready. I like check-ins. I don't, but at the same time, it's not like Rocky 6 or 7 or 8 where I need to go that far. I'm ready for one more, and then after that, I think I'm done. Like, yeah, that was great, but
Yeah, it's really like any other reunion special. The Friends reunion special, whenever it should come out, which it hasn't started filming because, COVID-19, that's not going to be an in-depth, we're going to learn what happened 20 years after the fact with the 6 actors who are 20 years older and the 6 characters who are 20 years older, and we're not going to get 20 years worth of story. So that's kind of the thing.
I may be in...
The Kristen speak.
Which one?
First.
Which one?
Go ahead, Kristen.
Okay. I think I may be in the small majority where I don't know if I want a second movie because there won't be Violet. Violet will not be in it. The way that they're ending her arc, where she had that lovely, conversation with Mary that made me cry. It just sounds like, even Maggie Smith said, she's like, I don't understand how Violet is still around because she was old when it started. And I think with closing out her character arc of, well, I'm going to be dead soon, I'm going to be okay until I'm not, and then I will go and rest in peace, and it is now in your hands. I don't know what it would be like without her. I would assume they would have to start a next movie with either her funeral or something to acknowledge that she's no longer with them. But that's going to totally change the dynamic. It's going to change how characters interact with each other, I feel like, a little bit. Isabel won't have anybody to spar with. I don't know.
Flashbacks.
Yeah.
They'll be able
Maybe
to
she'll
totally
become
incorporate
friends with
flashbacks.
the cousin.
Yeah, maybe. I just don't think it'll be the same. And I like where things left off.
I think I'm with you there, Lady Kristen. I don't know that I would want another film either. And I don't know how much of that is the fact that maybe I did go into it with the wrong expectations. I felt like none of the conflicts in the film were weighty enough to draw me in. I couldn't engage myself in them in the way I wanted to. And I thought it would be more. I mean, the royal visit, to me, that sounds like a big, important thing. There could be a lot of conflicts. And then watching it, I just felt like everything was solved a little bit too easily.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was just strung together in a way. And as much as I loved seeing the characters again, and I will say that was one of the highlights for me, was seeing the characters again. In some cases, I felt like they were almost an homage to themselves. Like they were
Pat Moore.
Yep, they were saying lines that were like the things they would say because they knew the type of reaction that would come. And it disappointed me because I wanted more. An exception to that was Violet and Isabel for me. And I also dearly loved the conversation with Violet and Mary. That was a very poignant moment and very well acted by those two ladies. But yeah, I think I would watch it for the same reasons as Spencer, because I love the material. But I don't think it would excite me in the same way this first one had before I saw it.
See, with something you just said there were times in watching this film where I felt like I was seeing the characters, but I wasn't feeling the characters the way I did in the show. It was like they were a proximity of themselves from what we had seen previously.
Right.
I don't think that the actors in part were as invested in this as they were in the ongoing TV series.
I think that is true definitely for some of them, for sure. I felt like I didn't know if it was a scriptwriter thing or an actor investment issue, but I definitely felt a little bit like some of the actors were playing a little bit of a shell of their character. And I missed the depth and I missed the heart. Again, not true with everybody, but...
And some of them I actually wanted to see more of and didn't get anywhere near enough of them in the film.
Again, I
Going
think-
back to food, another way to look at it would be with cotton candy, where it definitely, there is no real substance to cotton candy, but you can't stop eating it.
Fair.
So that'd be another way to look at it for the movie. Because I agree with you, there definitely wasn't that same substance, but for me, I was okay with it, because the hard part with trying to get substance as a movie then is, if you've only got the 2 hours, then where do you go with it? Where at least the series you can go on and it's in the next time period. So
I would like to compare it. I would like to compare it to a buffet versus ordering off the menu. In a buffet, you like to sample a little bit of all the different things. That's what the movie gives you, is samplings of all the different things. Whereas you're not ordering off the menu, you're not going to get a big focus on Mary or Edith, because I felt Edith actually didn't have a whole lot to do. She was pregnant. She got mad about the fact that the Marquess would have to go off and maybe escort the Prince of Wales until the king said he didn't have to do it. There wasn't much to that storyline, but it was nice to see Edith, and it was nice to see her husband, whose name escapes me just now, but
Birdie Pelham.
That's right. It was nice to see both of them, and it was nice to see even Mrs. Patmore, even if it was just her little Mrs. Patmore quips, and it didn't really go much farther than that. I mean, she was still part of the scheme downstairs, and she was still poking Daisy about stringing that poor Andy along and the whole thing. So,
yeah, it did feel. I agree with you on the buffet analogy, and we seem to be very stuck on food, but it was the buffet in the last 20 minutes where everything's kind of not quite as fresh as it should have been.
Yeah.
We need some jammy Dodgers up in here.
Always.
Those are delicious.
I know.
Going back to what Kylie said too, when I think about it though, with the sheer number of characters in this series that have stories and have lives that have really come out of this series, to open any sort of huge or heavy conflict at this point would leave so many loose threads that it would be very hard to resolve. So although I was disappointed in that, I think I understand why.
I don't, because that would have been movie 2. That would have been movie 2.
Stacey's going for a trilogy.
So
if
you're going into movie trilogies, you may as well have just done a season 7.
Yeah, I would love that. Yes, please, season 7.
I would have preferred a season 7 to the movie, because we would have gotten more of what we want.
We would have gotten real Downton Abbey rather than facade Downton Abbey.
Downton Abbey.
I was done with the weekly commitment though. That part I liked the movie that it was that, and now I can just watch it when I want.
We actually talked about that quite a bit in our episodes of 4 years ago, how we felt that Downton Abbey, the series, had ended basically in the spot it needed to end, and that there really wasn't a need for more. So here again, we're back on the whip.
Maybe.
What, Krista?
A mini series, maybe? Or I don't know.
It can be done. I mean, I would like a movie too, but if this is it, I'm good.
Does adding the film to the Downton lexicon help the show hold up, or remind us somehow that it doesn't?
I think it diluted it.
I agree.
I also third that.
I loved it.
I'm on the fence. Yes and no.
I think it reminded us of what made the TV series so engaging and so watchable and so beloved to us. I don't think you have to view it as connected. I think it's like bonus content or an appendix or something of that nature, where, and I mean the book appendix, not your abdomen appendix, where you're basically getting extra references and extra character nuances and things of that nature. And again, it's just a check-in. Is it my favorite part of the Downton Abbey franchise? Probably not. Was it comforting when I was in the hospital? Very much so. And I would totally watch it again, actually. Just I'd probably watch it every time I went back through the series again, although I haven't really done that. That will have to come at a special time. I watch a lot of TV as a producer of a TV podcast might.
You do.
I know. Before we revert this to the fun and games, would you recommend? Now, I already answered that question. Haha. Would you recommend the Downton Abbey film? Why or why not?
I probably would to somebody that enjoyed the TV show. If they watched the entire season or series and hadn't seen the movie, I'd say, yeah, go ahead and finish it up. There's a couple of storylines in there that do continue and give you a nice termination to the characters. As a standalone property, no, probably not.
You'd be lost.
Agreed.
Yeah. There's no way you could just watch the movie and have any real. I mean, it would be fun to see the costumes and the class situation, but as far as really understanding the Downton Abbey series, storylines and what it meant, yeah, the movie alone.
Really introduce anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And the movie actually wouldn't make you, if you hadn't seen the TV show, I don't believe the movie would make you want to watch the TV show.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's fair. Because it does pick up a thread that's 18 months down the line from the finale. I think if you just walked into the Downton Abbey again franchise with just the film and nothing behind it, you would be totally and utterly bewildered by why you're there, except you might think the music is pretty and it's very visually pretty. But other than that, it would be lost on you. You might laugh at Maggie Smith. You might say, hey, it's Maggie Smith. But that's about the size of it. She's the most famous person in the cast. So
yeah, she was brilliant from beginning to end.
Always. I absolutely love her.
A global treasure.
A global treasure. Dame Maggie Smith, if you happen to catch this podcast, tweet at us, CPU Podcast. Where's Sarah when this is supposed to happen? Okay. Well, I think we've talked about the movie. Before we transition, is there anything else that you want to say about the movie that you haven't already expressed? Last call.
The costumes were stunning.
As always.
Yeah, costumes and set.
A little bit up even from the series. They really spent a lot of money on them.
They had a higher budget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I was
especially
happy for
Go ahead, Stacey.
I was happy for Mr. Mosley. I'm sorry. He was dorky during the dinner, but he was just so happy to have been there. And then Baxter and her look as she laughed at it was like, yay, Mr. Mosley.
Yeah, there were some satisfying moments.
The MVP on the dinner though was the Queen, because she made that line about, oh, we always get that kind of reaction or something.
Yeah, that really was.
That was very nice of you, Queen.
Very gracious.
Yeah.
Yes,
Speaking of, I need to applaud. Was it Geraldine James? Who played the Queen. She's wonderful. I loved her. She's in Anne with an E, which is also, it's on Netflix. She's spectacular, and she was a fabulous choice to play Queen Mary.
All right. Anything else you want to say about the film? Going once? Going twice? Da 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 da. Well,
somebody call me right now. I'll play the music.
Well, we're not.
Geraldine James was the actress.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're not done yet, folks, because we can't do a live podcast without throwing prizes out at people. Only we can't do that the normal way, the non-quarantine way, social distance. So we're going to do trivia the way Krista does it. Krista's going to explain the rules. And then as she explains the rules, we actually have Kristen L monitoring our feed. If you have comments Don't put the answers in the feeds because you have to be on your honor. But if you have things you want to say, or if you think Krista's wrong, go ahead and put that in the comments too. Krista, take it away, trivia.
Okay, hi. All right, so for those playing at home and on our panel, everybody needs paper and a writing utensil. Wonderful. Stacey, are you going to take off?
Yes, I am. I'm afraid I have
Okay.
another thing going on tonight, but it was wonderful seeing everyone, wonderful talking about the show. If you do a panel on Victoria, I am totally there. So
All right.
and
Fair enough. Thanks for
everyone have a
joining
good
us,
night.
Dame Stacy.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers, Stace.
So our game, we have 5 rounds. They all have 3 questions each, except for round 3, which has 5. I don't know why. Each question is worth 1 point, and at the end of each round, please put your score in the comments, and Lady Kristen will be announcing where everybody is at. So, please no cheating. I would appreciate no cheating. The person with the highest score wins. No one on the panel can win, but we all are gonna play. So let's get going. So our first round is about the Crawley sisters. So we have 3 questions in this round. So our first question is, number 1, Mary slept with 2 men outside of wedlock. Who are they?
So we're starting with the Mary sleeps with people question.
Number 2, Lady Sybil married Tom Branson. What was Tom's job at the time of their rendezvous, as it were? And number 3, Edith has a daughter named Marigold. Who is Marigold's father?
There's a lot of hanky-panky in this round.
There's a lot of hanky-panky in this show,
Not
to be
wrong.
fair. Kristen and Kristen, give me a thumbs up when you're ready. All right.
Spencer, but he seems to have gone away.
Spencer seems to have left us as well.
I don't think that one was personal.
Okay.
Tell him to come join you. What the heck?
All
You're in the
right.
same house. You don't have to social distance.
All right. Our answers for round 1. Number 1, it was Mr. Pamuk and Tony Gillingham. Number 2, Tom was the chauffeur. And number 3, Marigold's father is Michael Gregson. So put your points in the comments and Kristen will read them out.
And if there's no comments, we'll just play and you can watch.
Yep. Just keep going because I think I'm the only one on the live feed at the current moment.
Aw, that happens.
Mm-hmm.
I mixed up Tony and Michael. I wrote Michael for the
Oh
first
no.
and he for the last.
All right,
But I got driver, so.
Round 2, maids and footmen. Number 1, who had a baby with a soldier during World War I? I do have a lot of hanky-panky in here. I didn't realize that.
I'm just detecting a theme.
Krista, can you repeat the question, please?
Number 1, who had a baby with a soldier during World War I? The category is maids and footmen, if that is helpful. Number 2, Ivy and Daisy squabbled over which 2 footmen? And number 3, Lady Sybil helped Gwen get a better job by cornering her with whom in the library?
Repeat that last one.
Lady Sybil helped Gwen get a better job by cornering her with who in the library?
Please.
Number 1, who had a baby with a soldier during...
Repeat that last one.
Lady
Oh,
Sybil...
there's sorry.
Kylie's on the live feed.
I'm monitoring. I won't monitor anymore. Sorry.
Kristen and Kristen, let me know. Thank you, Kristen. T?
We'll just go with it. Yep.
Yep. Number 1 is Ethel. Number 2 are James and Alfred. And number 3 is the telephone man. How we doing? Even you guys, that's fine.
I got 2. I missed Ethel.
1. All right. At least keep track of your scores for fun. I guess since it's us playing, you guys can just shout out your answers on this next one because it's round 3. Who said it? Number 1, you can always hold my hand if you need to feel steady.
Mrs. Hughes.
Mrs. Hughes. Number 2, I'm not a romantic, but even I can see that the heart does not exist solely for the purpose to pump blood.
Mary.
Carson.
Oh. Robert.
No.
Violet.
Violet. Number 3, sympathy butters no parsnips.
Oh, goodness. That's a funny line, too.
Mrs. Patmore.
Mrs. Patmore.
Oh,
Nice.
that's
Good job,
good.
Kylie.
Yeah.
Number 4, there is nothing more ill-bred than trying to steal the affections of another man's dog.
Robert?
That makes sense.
And dogs, just saying.
Yes.
And number 5, I'm never excited.
Violet?
Daisy.
I
I believe one of her, it was Andy, asked her if she was excited about something and she was blowing him off. Sounds good. Round 4, the Bateses. Number 1, how did Mr. Bates' first wife kill herself? Number 2, who helps prove that Mr. Bates didn't push Mr. Green? And number 3, when did they have their son? Thank you, Kristen T. Thank you, Kristen L.
Yeah, for this one.
First Mrs. Bates killed herself with arsenic in a pie. Number 2, it was Mr. Mosley and Miss Baxter who saved the day and got Mr. Bates out of prison that time. And number 3, they had their son on New Year's Eve at Edith's wedding.
Does season 6 count?
Yeah, I put season 6 too.
I mean, sure.
Technically.
It's very specific when.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like which season or at which event.
I guess
Right.
technically these are all correct answers.
Yeah.
2, great.
2.
2. Round 5 and our final round, parties. Number 1, the band leader who Lady Rose had an affair with came to Downton for what occasion? Number 2, who was singing when Anna was attacked? And number 3, Where did Mr. Carson and Mrs. Hughes' wedding take place? Sorry, wedding party. It was a nice breakfast. Just like she wanted. No, remember? That's what she wanted.
I know.
Can you repeat question 2?
Certainly. Who was singing when Anna was attacked? Mr. Green sucks.
Mm-hmm.
All right, ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 1, it was Robert's birthday. Number 2, it was Dame Nellie Melba, the Australian singer. And number 3, they had their wedding party at the schoolhouse. So, ladies, tally your scores. Let's see how we did.
You really want to know?
Yes, I really want to know.
4. It's been a while.
Oh, total? 4 total?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
I had 11.
11.
11. I had, yeah. Oh, you can't see it. It's going to put it green screen. But yeah, I got 3 in the first round and then 2 in the others.
All right. Good job, ladies.
Now, if there was anyone playing and you were too shy to say anything, you can message us through our Contact Us button on our Couch Potatoes Unite Facebook page and tell us what your score was. We might ask you to verify it.
So
Yeah.
I hope everyone had fun with my little game.
Some of the questions were hard.
Yeah.
Like the question of who was singing when Anna was attacked. I'm like, ugh, Mary? Mary sang once in a while. That's got to be an educated guess. Yeah,
That's actually what I guessed, Kristen, is
Yeah.
well, Mary.
When I do these things, I try to strike a good balance between like too easy and too hard. Because they
Makes
have to be
sense.
challenging, otherwise it's not fun.
Mm-hmm. I like that you divided them into categories too, so we kind of knew where we had to be thinking, because there's a lot of show
There's
to
a
cover.
lot
So
of
that
the
was
show.
helpful too.
Yes. I enjoy trivia and making these games. So
That's true facts.
And you're very good at it.
Yes, you
That
are.
was fun.
Well, ladies, it's down to us. We were abandoned by 2 of our people. Is there anything else you want to say about Downton Abbey before we sign off our live podcast?
no, but thank you everybody for watching. If you stuck it out this long.
Yes, thanks for watching us. And I'm going to read a little tag so that people know more about us. CBU was produced by Back Pocket Productions, run by yours truly. That's me, the Chief Couch Potato. Like I said, we hail from Grand Rapids, Michigan. If you like what you hear, take the time to rate us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, CastBox. We're also on YouTube. It's like our big archive. Give us stars, comments, reviews. Let us know how we're doing, what you like, what you don't, what we should keep, what we shouldn't keep. We're open to feedback if you're nice about it. That old chestnut. If you have suggestions on shows we might consider, contact us at our website, couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com, by email at couchpotatoesunitepodcast@gmail.com, or via our social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Though, of course, we had new and old shows to chat about around the water cooler all the time. We have several more new episodes coming down the pike. As always, if you miss old episodes or want to know in general what we cover, subscribe to our website or our social media channels. We advertise a lot now, and we talk about all of our new events and episodes, and we have TV for everybody. We don't just cover things like Downton Abbey and The Crown. We cover a lot of different things, and it's very nice here. Until the next time, Downton Abbey the movie is available to stream via the HBO subscription package. You can otherwise purchase or rent it from a variety of sites, including, yes, Amazon. If you have nominations for shows and related movies that we should cover on our podcast, contact us via social media or email or our website. And as I said before, you can volunteer to be a panelist too. So in the meantime, and until next time, until next episode, new episodes are published every Wednesday. Keep listening, keep watching, stay tuned.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.